Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board work session for Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. The first item on our agenda for this evening is our discussion of the tentative budget for 2021, which will be a presentation by our Deputy Town Administrator and Comptroller, Rob Deary, and our Town Administrator, Jill Shapiro. So, Jill, take it away.
All right, thank you. It's my pleasure to present the 2021 tentative budget for the board's consideration. This is the first budget prepared during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so the challenge of predicting revenues and planning expenditures in such an uncertain time is daunting, to say the least. We believe that this budget successfully controls discretionary spendings and costs in order to accommodate uncertain revenues anticipated in 2021. With the onset of the pandemic, the town board became acutely aware of the financial impacts of COVID-19 on our residents. The board provided us with clear direction regarding the 2021 budget, maintain services to our residents, but hold the line on spending and keep the tax levy flat. Despite these unprecedented challenges, this budget proposes a 0% increase in the general and highway tax levy. I'm just going to skip ahead. My budget message has been circulated to the board. It will be posted at the end of this meeting this evening. Just a couple of highlights, which we've sort of been kiddingly referred to as sort of lowlights for the budget. The first important area to cover is revenue decreases. Due to the pandemic, we experienced significant revenue shortfalls in 2020. And the revenue sources are not expected to return to pre-COVID-19 levels in 2021. In total, the 2021 general fund non-tax revenue has been budgeted to decrease by almost $750,000. These revenue losses are attributed to declines in our commuter parking lot, recreational activities, fines and forfeitures, and building permits, just to name a few. For anyone who has been commuting into the city, or at least commuted into the city pre-COVID-19, everyone is now working from home. Our parking lot has been transformed into a terrific bicycle skating rink, but with that comes real financial implications for the town. Revenues from the train station alone, commuter parking, metered daily parking, is about $1.2 million. And we have been unable to take and renew our parking permit season up until this point for the 2020-2021 season. We've kicked it from June to October to December in an attempt to salvage some portion of the revenues for this year. With regard to recreation, due to the uncertainty of us being able to be guaranteed to run our regular programming, we've dropped expected revenues for recreational programs. Fines and forfeitures, which are tangentially tied to parking, we are, in addition, predicting a reduction in that as well. Interest earnings and building permits. We have done an admirable job on controlling discretionary spending and deferring non-essential purchases for 2020 and 2021. However, there are contractual and obligated expenditures that will rise in 2021. We've got some contractual, whether it be for our PBA, our CSEA actually expires at the end of this year. And so in 2021, we will be looking to renegotiate the contracts, and we are not expecting any increases in CSEA other than step increases, which have been contractually guaranteed. That goes with management raises as well. In addition, we will be losing 4 positions through attrition, so that no one will be laid off, but we will be a slightly lighter town as far as staffing goes in 2021. The other significant portion of the budget is the utilization of fund balance. It was always anticipated that we would be using $500,000 of fund balance to offset the debt for the downtown Chappaqua infrastructure project. However, in light of the significant decrease in revenues expected in 2021, we have allocated another $700,000 from fund balance to offset those revenue declines that are specifically attributed to COVID-19. So the total allocation from fund balance in 2021 will be 1.2 million. It's a sizable transfer, and it's unfortunately required to offset the revenue losses, even though our sales tax, tax penalties, and mortgage tax revenues are expected to hold steady. As I said, the budget message is going to be posted and you can read it verbatim, but I did want to take a moment to just thank the staff for the extraordinary efforts this year. Every year presents its own challenges, and certainly 2021 was no exception. But we believe that the 2021 budget sets forth a roadmap for responsible budgeting, controlling spending, and limiting expenditures while maintaining critical services for our residents. I'd like to personally thank Rob Deary for his integrity, expertise, and unwavering commitment to the financial health of the town throughout the budget process. I'd also like to thank the entire staff, especially my assistant, Laura Cascone, and the department heads for all of their assistance in preparing the budget. Without them, this budget never would have been produced. It's my privilege to work among these professionals, and the town is fortunate to have such dedicated staff working tirelessly on its behalf. I want to start with Sabrina and the development department.
Yeah, so we'll start with her. I'm going to
Good evening, everyone.
All right.
Here we are.
Here you are.
So this is my office. Do you want me to summarize all of this and go through, Rob? How do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, Sabrina, it's there's not a lot that changes in your budget, but maybe we can go through the different where you have building and engineering, planning and zoning, the differentiations there, and just maybe speak to each one of those and what some of those budget lines represent. And
Okay, do you want to scroll back up to the organizational chart real quick? Because I think it will help kind of put it all together. So just to give you a sense, the budget is divided. You know, we are seen as one department, but we're really 4 separate divisions. We're planning, engineering, building, and zoning. You know, the different positions in my office, both of upper level management, CSEA employees, all fit within one of those divisions or cross over among multiple divisions. For example, the town engineer works under the building area as well as the planning area. The environmental coordinator splits his time between planning and building. So we're very much an integrated staff who work together to get the department's work accomplished. Very much like that is our budget. We have under the engineering lines, which is kind of the first set of numbers that you see, are all of our office supplies, our major purchases. They're all housed under the engineering budget line. But that budget line really feeds 4 different divisions: the building line, the planning line, and the zoning line. So you'll notice we don't ask for the same office supplies in each of our budget lines. They're all encapsulated under engineering. So that kind of just gives you a sense. But every year we really try and hone in on our budget and try not to have increases. You know, so with that said, Rob, I don't know if you want me to address specific lines or if any of the board members have specific questions. I will tell you, COVID in particular has reduced what we went through in the spring from March until just recently. We weren't experiencing a lot of overtime regarding CSEA employees. And in my office, we serve several boards and commissions. And those employees accrue overtime or compensatory time for the time that they spend outside of the normal working day. We did not charge to those accounts during the COVID pandemic, although we were working, but we felt that it was part of the daily commitment to the job to serve those boards and have those meetings without kind of impacting that. So a lot of my overtime in the budget was reduced for this year. COVID also brought about a lot of virtual and internet-based educational materials. So the code books, instead of getting print copies, we now get them online. So we've had some budget reductions due to those changes in the way we receive our codes, our manuals, and the specs within which some of our professionals do their jobs.
So I'll just point out in this first segment, this is the building and engineering. And really, the only things of note here, and I'll point them out, is the personnel. So you'll see the salary line increases about $21,000. And we talked about no increases. Those are the step increases. So Sabrina's office has quite a few employees that have been hired within the last 5 years. Those positions increase each year until they reach the top step. So that is the salary line, and that's why there's a change in that line from prior year. You'll see some departments that number won't change at all. Those are probably seasoned employees that have been here more than 5 years. I'll point out the part-time. Sorry.
I'm sorry, may I ask a question?
Sure.
In the event, if the form-based code gets approved this year, I just imagine that the planning department and the town engineer's office is the level of work would increase. So is that accounted for in this number? I don't know if that's a relevant question, but I certainly wanted to just bring that up.
So my estimate, I think that's a great question. Whereas you say that the workload will increase, the workload, I don't see it increasing any more so than the workload we get today for the boards, for reviewing projects in the boards. I think the nature of the work is going to change. And the one area that we don't have covered in my office is an architect. And we've talked about that as part of implementation of the code, of needing to work with a consulting architect. And we have provisions in the code where the applicant can help subsidize that architect. Mm-hmm. So that is the kind of the one area that isn't well defined right now, but I think that it does not necessarily need to be a budget line. It's more of a project by project line.
Okay, thanks, Sabrina.
Should we be looking to do a backdrop contract for architectural services?
I already have feelers out there to try and get a hold of some architectural firms to kind of garner whether or not they do work for municipalities regarding architectural review. So, we've got the feelers out there and we're looking, but not definitively because the code hasn't been adopted.
Got it. Thanks.
And Sabrina, I'll say, I would assume with the architectural consultant, where the applicants may pay that would be similar to the planning board escrow that we do right now, where planning board applicants have to pay either legal fees or in the past consultants, we do that in-house now, but in the past we did have planning consultants, outside planning consultants.
We've had environmental specialists, we've had traffic specialists that work on behalf of the town that the applicants pay into an escrow for, and we withdraw the payment for those professionals for the town's interests out of that escrow.
Great. Yeah, sorry, my question was actually not a budget question. It was more of a just sort of, do we need to have somebody on retainer so that we're, not scrambling.
We're working on
let an RFP to find the consultant to work with us. Anyway, that's not a question for today, but
we can talk about that more.
Yeah.
At a later date.
Yes.
The other budget line of note in the building and engineering is a part-time help. You'll see it actually decreased from what we budgeted in 2020 from 127,000 down to 100,000. This line contains funding for our fire inspector and also our part-time building inspector. We again are believing that Chappaqua Crossing, the retail end of that, is winding down, and that's what our part-time building inspector has remained on staff for. So we anticipate decreased expenditures there as that part of Chappaqua Crossing winds down.
But I have to say, what's a little bit, because it's gonna end up being, the final projection is 75,000 for the part-time help, and then, but you're projecting that'll be an increase of to 100,000 for next year, right? Like. how
Well,
we
I'm saying final current projection, and it may or may not reach that, but that was because of COVID this year. So
Okay.
that shut everything down for quite a while. So,
Right.
um,
Particularly in the commercial arena.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
okay, so that was building and engineering. Zoning doesn't have a heck of a lot of lines, and there's really no significant changes there. I'll just jump over to planning and just highlight, not a lot of changes here, but just highlight these two budget lines that we've maintained. They're kind of interchangeable, could even be used for other studies, but we have town board consulting and master plan consulting are in there for $50,000 each. We have probably some work, Sabrina, on outreach for the rec master plan that I think Kellen's been
Master
working.
plan, yes.
Yep.
So those budget lines can help fund that, and you know, they remain in the budget as they have the last couple of years.
And they also, this will also come into play too, if additional studies are needed, special planning studies, you know, based on the work that the town board is undertaking.
So I don't really have anything else in the development department, building, planning, or zoning. Sabrina, I don't know if you have any more comments, but you know, as Sabrina mentioned, most of the expenditures have been controlled. There's very little that has changed other than the personnel costs that were contractually obligated.
Right, and the one thing that I want to say is, you know, when, for example, every year we order books, like official record keeping books for our minutes. You know, we took stock of what we had and understanding the, you know, the fact that the meetings are becoming more concise, the note takings become more concise. We didn't need to, you know, spend the $350 per book for each of the boards this year because we had some from last year and they're not full yet. So we really went down to the level of detail to try and really cut back this budget and come in under what we spent last year.
And
Literally counting pencils. I love it.
Literally counting
Yes, empty
pencils.
pencils.
Although I will tell you, I refuse to change the pencils. Okay.
Is there something
I
cheaper than
will
a
say
G
though,
pencil?
that is townwide. That's been a townwide directive, and the department heads
They
have,
really took it to heart.
yeah, they really have. And we do, you don't see it here just because there's not enough space to show everything, but each department head does prepare an Excel spreadsheet that has down to how many printer cartridges you're going to use, you know, an estimate of how many copies you make each year because we pay per copy for our service contract, those types of things. So we really do look in detail, and there's not a lot of extra built into this budget, certainly.
Okay.
Sabrina, I think we're done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sabrina.
All right. Have a good night.
See you soon.
Soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Do we think Josh is around?
Look at how fun these meetings are. Lisa, you must love them. That's what
This is such a weird year because looking at the 2020 numbers tell you so little. Like it's
Yeah,
it's very
Does-
interesting.
yeah. Does tell you a little. Well, if we have a couple of minutes in between, we do have some resolutions we could always take and do and not leave them for the end. I
What
did
time
just
is
want
Josh supposed to come on? 6:30?
Yeah, 6:30, actually. Just an update, Bob Cioli had called me before. So the board is aware that we're in the midst of demolishing the Tertia Brook culvert. And this morning, Con Ed was supposed to be attending the 7 o'clock kickoff meeting. They did not. When they did show up, they showed up with overhead crews. And it turned out that the buried high voltage cable that ran through the culvert had not been tagged as dead, unelectrified, and nor had it been cut or removed the way it needed to be. So Bob Seoli was basically on the phone all day today, as was I, and we were able to get through to some of the higher ups at Con Ed. Jane Solnick did give me a call back to tell me that she was on it, and we were able to get the proper crews that came in at about 1 o'clock. It took them 4 hours to take and identify where the proper cable was, to make sure that it was de-energized, to tag it and actually remove it so that our work is not going to lag behind. They started demolishing today. Hopefully they will finish tonight, and it's just a 4-day, really condensed project, and we will maintain our schedule. So we're doing fine. We're hoping to be finished by Friday. So we're no harm, no foul, just a lot of gray hairs today for no particular reason.
You're being
But
generous.
yeah, but the upside is that like no one got hurt, and so that's major. So that they're just remarkable. I don't even know what to say.
Remarkable in a good way or
yeah.
not? Not so
No,
much.
not so much. I can't see who else came on.
Lauren came on.
How was the traffic? Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Sorry.
Did you come 684 or Taconic?
80. I did 84 this time. I figured it would be better, but there goes that.
No.
Should we do the start off with the payment of claimants?
Sure.
All right, so payment of claims. I move to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $1,031,644.40 listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detailed voucher detail report, each prepared on October 5th, 2020. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Really, just left him hanging there. Woo.
Yeah, wow. Is this something I said? I move to adopt the town board minutes of September 22nd, 2020 and September 25th, 2020 work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Michael Gallagher to the position of recreation attendant with Recreation and Parks Department, and an hourly rate is listed below, effective retroactively September 23rd, 2020, as reflected below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We do have Josh with us now, if we want to pause
Okay.
this. And
All right, we'll pause and come back to it. All right, Josh.
Okay, so thanks for having me tonight. I'm happy to discuss my budget with you. There certainly isn't a lot to discuss. Pretty much it's salaries and some paper clips. This year we did have a couple increases due to the potential of 2 certiorieries going to court. So we're anticipating a trial-ready appraisal for those both of those cases. That would be under line 0490.
Yep, that's the increase. And we talked about that briefly earlier, Josh, and maybe you can explain. I know Jason had that question. That contractual services line increases from 10,000 to 50,000. And maybe you can talk about what those appraisals will look like.
Sure. So there's specialty appraisals. We have 2 golf courses that have multiple up to 4 years of issue, and so those are appraisals that we are not able to do in-house as far as a trial-ready appraisal. The opposition has provided some form of analysis that tends to be utilizing a different methodology, a methodology that has been imported from Long Island and generally shows an extremely low value. So what we would do is we would employ our own appraiser and use that hopefully to negotiate that without it having to go to trial. We're currently awaiting the settlement for Sleepy Hollow Country Club, and we were hoping to use that as some type of guidance as to how we would proceed forward with our cases.
And Josh, it's not shown here. It's in another budget line for tax refunds. We typically budget $100,000 in that line each year. This year, we've increased that to $150,000, and maybe you can talk how the golf course tax certs will affect that line as well.
Sure. So we have a fairly large exposure with both cases. We also just settled one of our other large cases that should be payable in 2021. But based on our exposure to what we anticipate the settlement to be, that's where we calculated the additional $50,000 for that line. And that was worked on through with counsel.
And I'll just mention to the board, this is a budget line that we budget a static $100,000 every year for the last 10 years. I think in only 2 of those years did we exceed the $100,000, and that was for Riverwoods was one of them, and Chappaqua Crossing was the other one.
Summit Greenfield.
Yeah. And other than that, we've been significantly lower than the 100,000. So it's hard to know sometimes when some of these are going to settle and how you can anticipate, but we do have a good sense that this will settle next year. So that's why we have increased the budget line to reflect that for next year.
Yes.
I'll point out one other line. It's up towards the top of the screen. If you can see my cursor, kind of an outdated name for the budget line, data processing. But in 2020, we had increased that to $44,200. That was reflecting a $30,000 upgrade to the tax assessment software that had been in the works for a couple of years. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to deliver that in 2020 as we had anticipated. So we won't be using that money this year. And then upon further consideration, I'm actually shifting that expense to the IT capital project. I had some money in the IT capital project earmarked for an upgrade to the accounting software. And it turns out accounting software, we thought we were going to have to go to another company because we weren't sure the software we're using now would continue to be supported. And in fact, it's going to continue to be supported and upgraded to a cloud version, which will be significantly less money than we had anticipated. So we're able to shift the tax assessor software that wasn't on the horizon when we first borrowed the money in the IT project. We're able to shift that expense there and pull it out of the operating budget and put it into capital. And that money's already been borrowed.
And we have our fingers crossed that that will be ready for us to employ for the 2021 assessment role.
Board have any questions for Josh? We were going to ask you about paper clips, but we decided not to.
Sabrina told us all about these notebooks that she's not going to buy anymore. So if you want to show her up by talking about the paper clips,
That would be really good. Okay.
We reuse paper clips in the assessor's office.
Only staples, is that better? More economical? Okay.
they're going to cloud-based software over there in the assessor's office. They don't need a paper clip.
Mine's going to be cloud-based. His is. I don't think, is it?
It will be cloud-based.
Yeah,
Really?
it's cloud-based.
Nice.
No service for
You
him.
realize how nerdy we all sound right now, talking about paper clips and budgets and cloud-based, and we're laughing.
Welcome to our little slice of heaven.
I
Yes.
know, this is great. It's a good time. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
If you wanna-
Josh.
if you want to stay for your colleagues, you can stay and watch.
Sure.
He's going to pass. Stay, whatever you want.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. All right, so I guess coming in what?
About 10
15
minutes.
minutes? 15 minutes? All right, we want to go back to the resolutions?
Sure.
Where were we?
Alrighty.
Number 4.
Yep. I move to authorize the hiring of Lucas Okel to the position of laborer within the Recreation and Parks Department at the annual salary of $48,055.31, Group 2, Step 2, effective October 19th, 2020.
Okay.
Second.
Aye. She said all in favor. I heard her.
Oh, she did?
So,
Aye.
I didn't hear.
Aye.
She's on mute. All in favor?
I said aye too.
I saw your lips moving.
I move to authorize the promotion of Christopher Lupo from Water Maintenance Worker Grade 1 to Assistant Supervisor, Water Systems Operations within the Department of Public Works Water Unit at the annual salary of $96,396.08, Group 13, Step 5, effective October 12, 2020, on a provisional basis dependent upon successful completion of Westchester County Civil Service exam.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, here we go. All right. I move to adopt the following resolution. Whereas on September 22nd, the town board adopted a resolution to award DPW contract 2020-06 to Carrie and Walsh, North State Road, Briarcliff Manor, complete the turnkey replacement of 2 boilers. Whereas the town's bid specifications required the selected contractor to replace into kind of Cleaver Brooks model fuel oil flexible water tube boilers shipped disassembled for field assembly. And whereas Carrie Walsh submitted a letter to the town on September 28th, 2020 to rescind the letter of intent to award the contract because the boiler model number entered into their bid submission was the incorrect model number for 2 factory assembled water boilers. Whereas as a result, Carrie and Walsh are unable to perform the contract, whereas the value of the bids received for the required field assembled boilers were exceedingly high. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby rescinds its contract award to Carrie and Walsh Inc. for the complete turnkey replacement of 2 boilers at the Millwood Water Treatment Plant. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby rejects all bids received in response to the bid number DPW 2020-06 and authorizes town staff to modify as necessary and reissue the DPW water boiler bid request. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes and empowers the Commissioner of Public Works or his designee to take all actions necessary to implement the purpose of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, but you're getting demoted very soon, Lauren. At least I need to give you a tutorial.
Stop being a bully. You're being a bully.
I'm not being a bully.
You are. You're being a bully.
I think I covered the imperative.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
Anyway, I move to award the bid for holiday lighting decorating services for the downtown Chappaqua Hamlet to Christmas Lighting Company, as well as authorize the prepayment for the total cost of $15,532.50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the payment of $33,669.30 to Tritech Software Systems for the annual software maintenance contract for the Impact Records Management System effective October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ike has joined us.
Yeah.
So why don't we just hold on that and turn our attention over to Ike. Doing pretty well here, though.
Aye.
You with us?
He's there. Ike, unmute yourself.
He's having trouble unmuting.
Come on, Ike, you could do it.
There
Oh,
we
I
go.
did it.
Don't hear him.
Can you hear us?
Mike is not muted now, so
Yeah.
Ike, can you hear us?
We can't hear you. Say something.
Nope.
No.
I don't know if he's saying anything. Ike, say
He is,
something.
he's saying things. Maybe it's glad we don't hear him. I don't know. What is he saying?
He could be saying anything.
I know.
I know, these rec guys, you can't blame, you just can't
I'll
trust them.
send him the phone number, call just in case
Okay, you just.
for
need to-
voice.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yep.
All right, well, I move to authorize the annual renewal of Triad Service Agreement effective July 1st, 2020 to July 30th, 2021 for services to be used on an as-needed basis.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And with regard to the community center roof replacement contract award, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby amends the contract previously awarded on August 11th, 2020 for the community center roof replacement project with Armor Tight Construction Corp to install
Slate and concrete copings.
slate and concrete copings for a total of a lot of money.
That's
$435,500.
$435,500.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Guess am I going now?
Sure.
I move to establish the capital project as reflected therein with a total project budget of $524,000 to cover consulting services and labor materials for the installation of a new roof at the Newcastle Community Center. Funding for this project will come entirely from a future serial bond issuance, and the debt associated with this borrowing will be repaid by the general fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to. Is he back?
All right, now can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yay.
Fantastic. Sorry, you got it. Apparently
sound
the
excited.
permissions, the permissions weren't allowing me on the computer, so I had to go in and change it. So I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Oh, is this like a like parental controls? You weren't allowed?
Yeah. They know not to let me play with these fancy things, you know?
It's funny.
All right. So I don't know, can you guys see me? Is the video actually working?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. See, you give me nice toys. I don't know what to do with them.
This is sort of sad coming from the rec guy. That's all you do is play with toys.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well, sorry, everybody. Sorry for that little delay. I apologize.
All good.
And I think Christine's going to be jumping on shortly as well.
Christine, I think Christine's on. Christine, did I
Hi,
see you?
I'm here. Yep, I'm here.
I knew I saw her. Okay, great.
All right, so Ike, I'll start out and I'll first just mention the revenue projections. Most departments don't have revenue associated directly with them, so that's why they don't cover any revenue discussions. Ike does, obviously. We've left the majority of them exactly the same as 2020 with the hopes that we're able to run these programs. Again, a lot of the programs have expenditures associated with them so that if we don't run the program and don't get the revenue, we don't have the offsetting expense on the other side. The only one I will note, we did drop the summer camp projection from 485,000 to 465. That was the one program that we were able to run very successfully this year, if not on a limited basis. So Ike, maybe talk about what programs you were able to run over the summer towards the end and what you've got planned for the fall and winter. And I know there's no crystal ball for next year, but just talk about what you see from the revenue side.
Hey, Rob, do you want to flip to the revenue page in the budget too?
I have two different computers working. So yeah.
You got
yes,
two
right.
going. I could barely get one going.
Camps we have, we dropped from 485 to 465. The other ones we left relatively the same. Camps covers from right here, adult recreation down to co-sponsored programs.
So as Rob was saying, we were able to run camp this year, and I do want to thank Jill and Rob and obviously the town board for all your support with that this summer. I know a lot of other municipalities bailed out with everything that was going on, and we were one of the very few groups that actually hosted camp this summer. So thank you to all of you for supporting the department in that and allowing us to run with it this summer. I think overall, with what we had to work with, it was a huge success. We did limit the camp numbers. We cut our registration basically in half from what we usually take, just to kind of stay within all the guidelines that were out at the time and to make sure that we could run a safe program, which I think we did. We sold out very quickly when we opened up registration, and Christine and Brittany and the rest of the camp staff did a phenomenal job of meeting all of the benchmarks that we had put in place, whether it was regulations, guidelines, just plan of attack for this summer, obviously being at 2 new sites. So I felt that all of the staff did a phenomenal job with that. And again, thank you, Jill, Rob, and the town board for allowing us to run with it. I think the residents appreciated it. Some of the other programs that we were able to run, as you all know, is the movie night. Kind of supplemented our summer concerts this year. They were another big success. We averaged usually around 75 to 80 cars at each movie. So figure 3 to 4 people in each car. So we had some good turnouts for each of those. Our final, well, I won't say our final one, but the most recent one that we did this year was this past Saturday, Black Panther. Again, another good turnout. I think we had Christine probably around 65 cars. I think it was a little lighter than the other shows, but still a good turnout overall. Staff stepped up obviously when we were closed down in the spring and early summer with all the Facebook programming that we did. I thought that was really good. Kind of kept us in the loop, kept people busy, gave them something to look forward to every day, especially Brittany's how-to videos that she did every week. So that was good. We have our big Scarecrow event on the docket that's going to replace the parade on October 18th. So basically we did 2 sessions, 2-hour sessions for people to come and build. And we offered a take-home option as well. So we sold out in all 3 areas. We have 30 families coming at 1 o'clock, another 30 coming at 3:30, and we have 20 families that are taking the pickup option. So they'll be stopping by to pick up their kids and take them home. We will give those folks to the end of the week to get them back to us, and then we will place them throughout town on all the light poles. So both in Chappaqua and Millwood. So I think that's pretty cool. That actually, Christine, that sold out within the day, right? I believe.
Yes.
We had to add some extra spots. So.
Yep.
So we'll be doing that. We'll have a rain date of October 25th for that, just in case the weather doesn't cooperate on the 18th. Some of the other programs we have going on, flag football was huge for us this fall. We typically take around 160 participants. I believe we took around 200 this fall. We ended up creating 2 fields out there, spreading out the times. Obviously, we wanted to accommodate as many kids as we could because everybody's looking for something to do. But we also wanted to make it as safe as possible. So we've staggered some of the times, spread some of the stuff out, just to cycle people in and out of rec field 5 nights a week, or 3 nights a week, actually. So that's going quite well. The Art Center programming, we're running limited programming there for obvious reasons. We're trying to just, instead of running multiple classes at the same time, we're only running 1 class at a time. Some of the instructors weren't comfortable coming back right now, but Brittany's done a good job of putting a pretty good slate at the Art Center to keep that place pretty busy right now. The biggest question mark for us, I think, this fall/winter is going to be the youth basketball program. That's a big program for us. I'm trying to keep up hope that we might be able to run it, but I don't know how promising that's going to be based on the current guidelines and if anything changes between now and November. So those are some of the big stuff, some of the big programs we have going on and looking forward to. Depending on, I know the roofing project you guys just spoke about at the community center, we've been holding off on diving into any programming there just to see what the situation was at. But we will certainly get something in there while we can before that project starts.
So that's probably going to be.
I wanted to ask about, I'm a little concerned as I'm looking at the revenue numbers that we're returning all of our revenue projections to the sort of original 2020 budget numbers. And so I just want to make sure that we're like being mindful of the fact that that then means that we're prepared to restore our programs to their full sort of capacity in January of this coming year.
Right, and we may not be able to, and as I mentioned, the majority of these programs that bring in revenue, the offset is expenditures. So I will point out in camp this year, we brought in 116,000. We've actually spent about 125,000 on it. So it was much needed, I think, for the residents and for the children of the town. But a lot of these programs are very close, not necessarily revenue producers. Camp typically is, but this year it wasn't. So I understand the concern. I do have that concern that we may or may not be able to reach these goals. We don't have any real concrete proof of whether or not we can.
Are there any of these programs or sort of recreation services that become real loss leaders for us, that where the revenue and the expenses are not sort of offset, such that if we were to, for example, if we weren't able to run programs at the community center, we wouldn't see a corresponding drop in expenses?
Well, we would from a staff standpoint. So any of the hourly staff that we would have in the building or contractual staff that we would have over there, we wouldn't have that expenditure. And a lot of the programs because we're mindful of what's happening right now, and that was one of the big discussions, is whether or not to keep the projections the same.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the programs that we're running right now, we're almost going in with a independent contractor. So kind of doing like that 80-20 split, so that if the program doesn't run, like Rob said, there's really no expense to us.
Okay.
And if the program does run, granted, we don't bring in a lot of revenue, but we don't really have any expense on the other side. So we're trying to balance it that way so that we're not running any big programs that would really take a hit, even though, there'd be a huge expense if we don't run them. We're trying to avoid those programs right now until we're a little bit more locked in. And really some of the programs that take that hit are usually some of the senior programs, because we keep the pricing down on those, so they don't always cover their costs. But they're an important program to run, and so we try to squeeze those in as much as we can.
And I'll point out one particular budget line this year where kind of highlighting with my cursor there, 53 is the last extension, the co-sponsor programs. Those are the 80-20 that I was talking about. So if we were able to run none of them, we would lose 100,000 in revenue, but 80,000 in expenditures on the other side of it. So we would have a net loss of 20 if we were not able to run anything. Even if we're able to run any of those programs, it's revenue positive. So, I get it is difficult. It's been difficult to project revenues anywhere. And I have been typically conservative, even pessimistic for most of the budget.
Right.
I also, correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of these programs too, even if we start taking in money so for example, like the basketball program, that would be run in the winter, but we would take the money in at this point. It would have been booked in 2020. So if you're talking
Correct.
about basketball revenue for 2021, that's not going to come till the end of next year.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
So
Correct.
it would be this year that we're taking the hit on the winter programs. And hopefully by spring, as we start to do registration in January and February for spring, that's when the revenue will come in for that too.
I see. That's super helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
May I ask a couple of questions of, for example, it's line 220. What was the huge expenditure this year with the department equipment? Because the change is, it's down 82% versus.
Okay, so we're gonna.
Sorry.
Revenue. So you will, if nobody has any more questions on the revenue, we'll switch over to the expenditures.
Just right.
Sorry about that.
No, no. it's
Oh, that's
perfect.
okay. And I think what you're talking about is right here, middle of the page here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ike bought some heavy equipment this year, a field rake, a tractor. Ike, what else was purchased this year?
Yeah, so the bulk of that was the new track. We had to replace an old tractor that
Right.
we use for aerating our fields. A lot of our field maintenance work is done with that piece of machinery. So that was the bigger expense out of that 72,000. We also had to replace our John Deere field rake, which was also, that was probably, I think that was around 13 grand. So those were the two big expenditures, and then within that, there were some attachments that we had to get for the tractor. So that's what the bulk of that expense was for last year. To the 12.8, we need to replace a sander for one of the trucks, and we need to replace the leaf vac that we currently use. So,
Do we also need to purchase any electric leaf blowers this year? I did.
That was not part of the discussion when we put the budget together. We do not currently own any. So yes, if we need them, I guess would be the answer.
But I apologize because I don't remember the legislation off the top of my head, but are there certain areas where you folks will need electric leaf blowers during the summer? Because please correct me if I'm wrong, Jill or Ivy.
I thought, well, we haven't been blowing parking lots. We
Okay.
did that, that was something that we already did. So the hardscape we were trying to avoid. I don't know, do you use blowers on your baseball fields, like?
No. We've typically during the summer, spring and summer, we use them to clean up from landscaping. So roadways, parking lots, sidewalks, that sort of stuff. We did, like as Jill mentioned, we didn't do any of the parking lots this year. Typically didn't touch any of the roadways. Some of the sidewalks we would hit if they got a little like we would leave them, but after a while the stuff starts to build up on them, and so we would use them sparingly. But for the most part, no, we did not use them during the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will be starting now, though. I don't know if anybody's seen through town, but the guys have started to clean up along the bridge down in the downtown area and around the train station. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the board should just also be aware that with Ike's staffing, he's continuing to do daily sanitizing of the playgrounds. That continues, even though, camps will be over, and by November, he's probably going to be buttoning up the fields, but the playground daily cleanups will continue. So we will put to use your new hire.
Yeah.
We jumped to the parks line,
Sorry.
the section of the budget. So I'll just highlight here under the personnel, the seasonal help. We increased that number from 33.5 in 2020 to 40,325, and that is to add some seasonal help to help clean and sanitize the playgrounds. Is that correct, Ike?
Yeah, so that will help us because I'm limited with weekends after October with full-time staff. After October, according to the contract, them on a flex schedule. So to help bridge that gap, we will have seasonal help doing all the sanitation on Saturdays and Sundays, basically November through March, just so that we can keep those playgrounds clean. Because if we keep having mild winters, people are going to keep using them.
Hey, Lauren, I think you said you had a couple other comments.
It was just, I'm sorry, I keep jumping. I made notes
It's
on
okay.
here.
No.
It's line 101 with the community center. So
That
Is-
was our caretaker, Dennis, that passed away.
oh, thank you.
And
Sorry.
that's one of the positions that's not going to be replaced.
Got it.
Has not been replaced. Right?
Got it. And just out of curiosity, when the roof is replaced at the community center, like I assume that the whole thing will be closed. Do we know how long that will be?
Well, in the original contract, I think the contractor has 45 days to finish the project. But we were also going to work with the contractor almost on a daily basis, basically, just to see what our accessibility will be with that building once it gets started, so that if there is a safe way that we're able to utilize the building while they're working, then we certainly will.
Thanks.
Yep.
Lauren, yeah, you didn't have any other questions?
Okay. Special event supply,
keep firing away.
28,000 versus the 16,000. Just out of curiosity, can you just tell me what that is?
So
That's
the
160.
big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was to incorporate, so hoping that we go back to doing some of those outdoor concerts next year, and also continuing to do the drive-in movies. So as to cover both of those expenses. Hopefully we'll get back to being able to get sponsors and stuff next year, but that's what that includes, drive-in movies for 2021.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Ike, was there any, kind of skipped over rec admin? There wasn't anything of note. We went through parks, community center. So anything with youth athletics or the art center that is anything of note or anything different from the 2020 budget?
I don't think there was anything too earth-shattering with any of those things. Christine, I don't know if I don't know if I'm missing anything off the top of my head right now. Let me just check my notes quick. The big thing, one of the things, note just for the town board, our rec fields were very busy this summer and up until this point in the fall, and actually a lot busier than in the past because the school fields were closed. So we had a lot of those youth groups coming to us for that were typically on school fields to use rec fields. So it's been a good thing because our fields have been very active 7 days a week. But obviously we'll have to do a little extra maintenance in November to kind of prep them for the winter and get them ready for next spring. So the park staff has definitely been staying busy, keeping up with the facility maintenance. But like I said, that's a good thing. I like it when our fields are being used like that. One of the things I know, and I can't remember, Rob, what we did with the budget with the teen group, but for the ski trips, Christine, I don't know if you want to talk about those a little bit, what our plan is and how, in hopes that we'll be able to run them this winter, and if so, how we'll do it.
Sure. I'm still waiting to hear back from the mountain we went to last year. They, as of right now, aren't accepting any group. So I sent them an email today. So I've pursued 2 other mountains that are under 2 hours in driving and in Connecticut. We were looking to offer 2 buses. That way we could separate the kids, space them out. They each got their own seat. They're 54 passenger buses, we put like 25 kids on each. Doing the math, we still have revenue coming in. So I think it's definitely a program we can have as long as the mountains can provide us with safety measures. And that's what I'm waiting for to hear back from Catamount Mountain.
What do you guys see as being what is programming going to look like for the senior center?
You want me to go, Ike?
Yeah, fire away, because that was one of the things I wanted to touch on anyway. So I'll let you do it right now, because I know you've been working quite a bit with Bess and Donna and Maria.
Sure. So in June, we opened up the doors again, and we provided some passive types of programming that we thought were low risk. We've limited how many people that can come into the building at a time. They had to call and pre-register, and we do temperature checks and log who comes in the building. A lot of the seniors still are not comfortable coming out. Maria in our office, we called, she made some phone calls to participants in past sessions, and it was about 60-40 split. Like 60% still said they didn't feel comfortable coming out. 40% are willing to try it. We have a regular 2 classes that are really, we have regulars coming out to. We have like a poetry kind of class or word discussion, and they meet outside every Thursday, and that's been great. And on Tuesdays, vice versa. Tuesdays, they've been meeting outside. We have a painting group, and they've been coming in, they're spaced out, and they painted. Moving forward to October, we're looking to hopefully have programs start October 26th. And with those programs, we chose, again, some passive ones. We do have some exercise classes that we want to run for seniors, but more like yoga or meditation, no high intense programs. We are limited how many people could be in each room. And we're also going to offer like dance classes in the afternoon like we always have. So we're looking to start up programs. Again, it's just going to be limited how many people per class.
And one of the things just to touch on, I'm sure the board has noticed with the community center. So with Donna retiring and not being able to fill that position, we're going to Christine's going to take over a lot of the responsibilities with the community center, including the senior programs. So she's going to work with Bess, continue to work with Bess and Maria on scheduling the building, staffing it, and running the programs over there for now.
Great. Thank you.
I'll just touch on, Rob, I know one of the things that we had spoke about, and one of the things that bring up to the board is I would like to look at replacing within the current era that we're in right now with everything that's going on, replacing the water fountains at our different facilities. Right now it's the traditional water fountain that really at this point nobody wants to use. So I'd like to, over the course of time, start phasing them out and replacing them with bottle fillers. And we'll also have a little extension on with the traditional bottle water fountain. You know, a lot of the dog walkers and things like that, you like to use them to fill up their bowls, but I think it might make more sense, just the way things are right now, to start switching some of these water fountains over to bottle fillers with the option to use a traditional water fountain. Obviously, there does come a cost with them. On average, they're around $3,800 each. And we have 9 total water fountains through 5 different parks. We have 3 at Gedney, 2 at Millwood, 1 at Rec, 1 at Smith, and 2 at Amsterdam. So with the board blessing.
And
excuse me?
What's a regular one cost, and how many are really in need of being replaced?
Well, my thought would be over time to replace all of them. They work right now, but in the current times with COVID and everything, nobody's really comfortable using the traditional water fountains. So I was thinking by replacing them with the bottle fillers, they would actually get more use out of them, and people wouldn't be shy with using them, and they'll serve a purpose instead of just sitting there now.
So this summer for camp, we found
Right. Thank you.
yeah,
Phil.
that
the other big thing.
that the water fountains at Amsterdam didn't meet the Department of Health codes. So we ended up having to bring in bottled water to support the camp activities. So we'd much rather be able to be in a position where we can have proper water fountains that'll pass Department of Health muster, and the teams that use those fields on a regular basis, I'm sure will be much appreciative of our efforts as well.
Where is that reflected in the budget?
It's not reflected in the budget currently. This is something that we can add any number. So Ike says he's got 9 that need to be replaced at $3,800 a piece. I don't know, Ike, what's the lead time on those? Do you know how long?
I could tell you back in spring it was 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know if that's calmed down at all now, but in April, May, it was 6 to 8 weeks.
So it's probably impractical to do that, any of those this year.
Correct. I mean, if we ordered them now, we'd keep them in the garage and then install in the spring.
Yeah.
So that might be a thought that we could do to fit them in. I mean, obviously, when I say there will be budget lines that will be underspent this year, clearly because our services have been reduced, but we still have a deficit. So would the board be interested in purchasing any number of those out of this year's budget?
If they're not going to be installed until next year, well, I guess which ones are imminent in need of replacement? Those just 2 you mentioned?
Well, certainly Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, because I would like to bring camp back up to Amsterdam last year. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. It worked well. So certainly Amsterdam would get done. I would replace. So let's just say the board said we can move ahead with 3 for this year, right? I would certainly do 1 at Amsterdam, 1 at Gedney, and then the 1 at Rec would be the 3 that I would hit, because those 3 facilities see the most traffic.
The rec field,
Okay.
Mike?
Yeah.
It's a town hall.
Yep.
And maybe I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying to myself, as far as Millwood rec field goes, is that one of the ones we were replacing as well, Ike?
Well,
Maybe we can include that in the project.
we could, because there's 2 at Millwood. There's 2 water fountains at Millwood.
We're doing
one behind the backstop, and then there's 1 over by the tennis courts.
So maybe with the work that we're doing there, we can piggyback it onto that project.
I mean, that's nominal dollars for the work that we're taking care of there.
Yeah.
If we're moving camp to Amsterdam next year, are the camp facility fees not a projected expense for this coming year? Like, where is that in the budget? Sorry if I.
That's a good point, and I don't believe we've removed that, have we, Ike?
No, I think we kept it in there. And what was we spent, so I think we had 36,000 allocated. Rob, does that sound right? And that
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And I think we spent around 20. Shoot, I don't have those numbers in front of me. 25 between the tent rentals, the bathroom rentals, and then the Poland Spring rentals. I think came around, and the hand sanitizer rentals. I think we came in around 25 for camp.
All right, can somebody just help me to figure out where that is in the budget?
Yeah, was it under?
I always lose that line.
Yeah, Well, it's the one I always come across when we start doing the budget. I'm like, what's that for? And then I have to, and then I.
Right, and then you
like
get
that for
aggravated.
Yeah, right.
No, we don't get
It's
aggravated.
Night.
special projects, under 7310,
7310, all right.
0530. So we had 38,000 allocated last year.
I'm gonna pull it up.
And it's allocated
Yep.
this year. We spent $12,000 for the church rental.
Yes.
And then I think we spent around another 12 between the tents, the bathrooms, everything else needed for Amsterdam.
So we'd have to take a look and I can discuss that. If that's viable, then we can take a look at what we would need and possibly reducing that line and or shifting some of that money to be able to purchase some of these fountains for next year.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, you know, that then becomes an expense, you know, a water fountain becomes an expense that makes the camp possible.
Right.
Right, that's a good point.
And of course, the nice thing is that, you know, we spend it once and we've got it. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if we could replace all the fountains over the course of 2 to 3 years, I think we'd be in fine shape.
Yeah, I think that would be great if we could do that.
So I guess maybe like the thing I'd like to understand is if we're intending to move the summer camp to Amsterdam, you know, what are the expenses related to moving the camp up there, and how is that compare against what we've done in the past and these projections for the facility fees?
So you are going to save some money. Again, we have 12,000 went to the church rental for the 5 weeks.
Yeah.
For play care.
Yeah.
And so, you know, because we can't put the whole camp up at Amsterdam. So we still need a place for tots. And that's why we utilized play care this past summer. For the rest of camp to be held up at Amsterdam. Hey, Christine, just help me remember some of the numbers. I think we spent around $6,500 for the tents, right? The 3 tents that we had up there. It was around $5,000 for the bathroom trailer.
Yep.
For the camp season. The Poland Springs, that was a minimal cost, and the hand sanitizers were, Christine, how much were the hand sanitizer stations again? I don't remember what those were offhand, but
yeah, I think they were like 200 each, times 3, so 600. I don't know, 2,000 maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Oh. Okay.
So you're looking at, you know, I think I'm guessing, but I think we spent around $25,000 on camp this year regarding facility costs between play care and Amsterdam. The school is going to be around 38,000 according to last year's estimate from the school.
You know, that's if the schools are a viable option for us next summer.
Right. This year they were not.
They were not. It's just a different type of camp, you know, when we run it in the school versus when we run it, you know.
And if we move it up to Amsterdam, now I'm just thinking back to the revenue projections. If we move the camp up to Amsterdam, the camp adventure, can we accommodate as many kids up there? Like, would you have the capacity up there at Amsterdam to be able to expand it beyond the number we were able to take this year?
The short answer is yes. With staff and I, we discussed that at the end of the camp season last year, and it was felt that yes, we could accommodate camp adventure and then on the go when they needed to be there.
And
know,
a lot of that revenue comes from on the go.
Correct.
It's more
And all the add-ons that we were unable to do this year because of COVID. So, you know, the really the only, I don't even want to call it the con, but you know, with Amsterdam is indoor facility, right? So we're up there. If we get a summer thunderstorm, then you know, camp doesn't really happen that day. Rain isn't a big deal with all the tents, but you know, if we get a thunder and lightning storm, then we would lose a camp day that way. That's really the only con would be in Amsterdam. I believe all the staff, all the campers really enjoyed it up there this year.
Well, so it seems to me that if this 38,000 in this line was meant to represent the cost that would have been CCSD facility rentals, and instead we're going to be able to use the FCC plus Amsterdam, that there may be, you know, sort of enough of a savings, enough of a differential there to be able to do the water fountains, right?
Yeah.
It would certainly help. Yeah. Get you.
Okay.
So, but yeah, as Joe mentioned, even if we have to phase them in over the next couple of years, I think that would work as well. So
we could leave that budget line to reflect that, and then if we determine that you know, we're going to go with Amsterdam, then we shift that budget money to a different line and buy the water fountains from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Great.
Okay, great.
I
That
think
was a
that's
biggie.
I think it's really exciting. I think those water fountains are super cool. I think people will actually really appreciate them.
Oh, completely. And the
It's like a
Department of
little
Health
thing
will
that'll
really,
make like a big difference for a lot of people. I think it's cool.
Yeah. I agree.
yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I didn't have too many other notes. I don't know if the town board has any questions, or Christina, if there was anything you wanted to add.
No, I think you hit the big items that we talked about.
Yep, looks good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ike.
Yeah,
Bye.
fantastic.
Bye. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Okay. What time is it? 7:20. We're almost done with the resolutions. Christina, are you online? Christine? No? Yeah. She's not showing on my little.
Oh, there she is.
Can you hear me?
Christina's there. Yeah.
Nice.
There she is.
All right, I'm here.
That's so weird. You show up muted.
I don't know. I know. I'm not sure what's going on with me because,
All good. It's fine. As long as we can hear you.
okay, good. Good.
All right. I want you to know that there's been a lot of competition up front about like cost savings. So I hope you're up to the task.
Well,
Sabrina started it off by saying that she's like combining minute books for over like the course of years. So,
well,
and Josh is
yeah.
saving on paper clips. So I don't know what you're going to do.
I don't know that I can compete with that because my department in many ways is similar to Josh's, where a lot of it is people, and there's not a lot that we can do with that. But we certainly are trying to cut whatever we can. We are sensitive to the environment, and we really appreciate that the board did give us our new hire, Irene Jackson, who is working out very well. So I think she's settling in, and of course Lauren. So that goes without saying. So.
And we have some really like lovely people who we've added to staff. Like everybody is really super nice. It's a really nice vibe at town hall. So.
Yeah,
really
I agree. We really do have a wonderful group, and I've said this to Jill and to Rob directly. They do a wonderful job somehow attracting and retaining some good people.
Somehow.
So we're very fortunate.
Look at us. We're like, who wouldn't want to like spend the day with us on a regular basis?
We're wonderful.
And modest. Okay.
Okay, let's not get carried away, Jill.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, sorry.
So Christina, did you want to start with clerk or receiver or?
Sure, we could start with clerk. So yeah, so we could I don't know if the board wants to ask any questions or if you just kind of want me to run through it. We kept things basically pretty much the same. We don't have a lot of discretionary funding. Much of what we do is things that we have to do, legal notices, and we have to run those. That's dependent on the amount of, it depends on the amount of local laws we pass, things like that, even like the state of emergencies, all those things. Books and subscriptions, dues, you'll see if you go down, there isn't really a lot of change in anything. The dues, that's changed a little bit. You'll see the numbers we're talking about. The percentage is high, but the numbers are small, and we just changed where we were charging something. The dip in 410, 490 there is, we think that's going to go down based on sales. So that's credit card services, and BAS is the subscription services from some of the proprietary software that we use.
Christine, I'll just point out the personnel costs in the top section. So if you remember, this is where we've actually had a lot of change, probably the most within the town. So we've added this year a full-time position, and we replaced the deputy town clerk with Lauren Cascone, and we added the full-time position, which is reflected here in the salaries line. And the offset was kind of here in the part-time help line, where we did reduce staff. Was several positions were eliminated this year, some through COVID, and they just haven't returned to work, and they'll not be rehired.
Yeah.
We need a little bit of money in that part-time help line at this point for tax season. If we do have some part-time help that comes in when we're very busy, and we may or may not need that next year, but that's why we've left 10,000 in that line.
Yeah, and just kind of go what Rob said, we did have a retirement. We've gone for several months with that position vacant. We did because of COVID, we only kept a minimal part-time help. We did continue to do everything that we normally do, tax collections, all the services we provide, with the exception of the train station, which we've kind of bumping, kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit. But in our office, and Patty Antonucci is on with us today. She's a deputy for taxes, so she is on by phone. But I think we are particularly proud because we do feel like we kept everything moving and without issue as far as the tax collections. Our town tax is collected at 99%. Currently, we're at 50% collected for school. So we went through 2 town collections and birth, death, marriage certificates, and all the other things that go with it. And we did it without incident. And I think Patty will agree. We're pretty proud of that.
You should be.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any, and with, anyway, we're happy to do it. We love our residents, and we think we have a great group that we serve. So.
Christina, can I point one other line, and maybe you can explain to the board this records management line down here on the bottom, and
Thanks,
what we've
Rob.
kind of been talking about.
Sure. I'm sorry. Can you just say it one more time? I couldn't hear it. The what line?
I'm sorry, the records management line.
Sure.
We've been talking about it over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, so the records management line is in archiving, and is that let me just double check. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. So we're required to archive by New York state law. We're required to archive our tax records, and to keep them, we have to keep one off-site and one on-site, but they have to be put on this. We have to do it a certain way. And that is for that service, which we have to do. It's not.
We actually still keep records on microfiche. It's one of the
Yes.
approved methods of us maintaining in perpetuity our tax records.
Yes, and it's funny, but that is, that's the preferred.
Method.
That's what New York State wants us, how they would like the records kept. So that's what we have to do, and that's what we do.
And not that it's a big line item, but we're not projecting spending anything this year on it.
On the records management.
So I think
Well,
when we went to print, or when we projected that, we didn't think we were going to, and now we think we might. Is that correct, Christina?
Yes, that is correct. We got a competitive price, and the high bid came at 11 and change. We kept looking for something better. We got the same services bid at about 4,400. So it is something that's required for us to do. Again, it's not discretionary. It's by law. We need to do that to keep the records off site. So we'd like to go forward with that.
The 4,400, because I don't recall from the quote you got. If we did that this year, would we still need the 4,400 in the budget next year? Or is that a cost to get us caught up, or what would the ongoing cost be?
That is a cost to get us caught up. So then for the coming year, I'd look for about 1,100.
Okay, so we could change that number. So if we do decide to go ahead and do that prior to year end, then
Yeah, as a board will recall, we all the departments were asked to halt absolutely anything we could just to see where we were with the budget, and we had done that. Rob and Jill took a hard look, and because this is something that's required for us to keep, they said, yes, go ahead and do it if you can. But again, that was made just recently before we went to
we thought
publishing.
it was $11,000 too, and
So we were like,
11,000 is no good.
yeah, we were like, yeah, you're gonna have to wait on that. So.
Okay.
The department heads were really fabulous about literally going line by line through their budget and just saying, we don't have to do it this year. We'll just kick it down the road. I mean, we know we have to do this stuff, but it didn't have to be immediately. So if we can do it and get it done, Christina, that's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah, there isn't I think everyone understands where we are, and we still want to get everything done best way we can, but okay, should we go on to taxes?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So again, my deputy's on, she's here with us. As always, she's wonderful. She's been here for decades, and she's the voice that most of you will hear, or realtors will hear. Some call her on her cell phone after hours, things like that. She's terrific. We're lucky to have her. We collect on about 6,600 parcels, and you have it in front of you, the sheets here. We have some changes to the part-time help, but again, that was explained earlier by the Comptroller. We're reducing that based on the our new full-time hire. And if you go down, let's see, the other things that are kind of like a little bit outstanding is printing and publishing. We brought that down a little bit, and that's based on we have to print tax bills and some custom forms, things like that. And when you order them kind of you have to do a minimum quantity to get the best price. So it's not every year that you do that. You kind of do that every other year with some of the things. And that's it. Training instruction we brought down because we weren't able to use it this year, and we don't know what's going to be offered. And we expect that if something is offered, it'll probably be through via Zoom, and we would be cheaper. So that's it. We do print all of our tax bills in-house. We print stuff and post them all in-house and deliver them to the post office. This is again our chance to brag about ourselves. But there are many municipalities, and I'm sure Jill will tell you, that don't. They send them out. We like to do it all in-house because this way we ensure we get everything out timely, and we really can manage the process. We're not beholden to the timeframes of a printer, and we can just double check quality, things like that. And again, we do it all in-house with the same people. It's not unusual during meetings and things like that for all the department heads to grab a stack and just fold and stuff with us. So it's really nice. It's that we are able to do that and get it done. That's it.
Yeah.
Rob, you don't have to hear me bragging about us anymore.
You
Patty, is
should-
there anything you wanted to add? She's trying to unmute, I guess.
Patty?
No?
She doesn't look like she's muted, but
No, I don't know.
I hope you're there, Patty. You guys did a fabulous job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's it. And is there any questions? Can I help with anything? No? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate your support. Again, we're so excited that we have our new hires and we have Lauren, and we really do appreciate that because it is very difficult. And I'm just getting a text now from Patty, and she had some trouble. She said, please thank them all very much for me. So, okay. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks so much, Christina. Thank you.
Christina.
All right. Okay, this is the really tough lines coming up. Supervisor, Town Board, and Controller. All right. Let's go.
All right.
Rob?
That's us. Huh?
Go for it.
What is it?
Which one you want to start with?
Start with Town Board first.
Okay.
A couple of changes that we made in this line, in the Town Board line. So if you go to about the middle of the screen there, you've got Boards and Commissions and Arts and Culture Committee. We just kind of combined. Arts and Culture Committee hasn't always spent the 5,000 over the last couple of years. So we kind of combined that with Boards and Commissions, and we actually increased that by about 5,000, actually by 5,000 this year. The two lines combined were 10,000. We've made a new budget amount of 15,000, possibly reflective of the CRE requesting money. And I think not sure the exact name of the group, the Holocaust Memorial has also requested some money to be included in the budget this year. So the increase in these budget lines represent that. Special projects, this can be anything for the town board, any projects, events that they want to sponsor. Could be a movie, could be a concert, those types of things. I'm sorry, special events would be that. Special projects in the past had been things that the board, initiatives that they had done in the past. I think the funding for the electronic sign came out of that line. In the past, some of Rob Greenstein's, I don't know if I want to say promotions, but magnets and coyote whistles and those types of things have come out of the line, that line.
$25,000 can buy a lot of coyote whistles.
It sure can.
Yes, it has.
I think we have a lot of coyote whistles.
I'm teasing.
So that was special projects. Special events, dropped that amount a little bit. So what that included in 2020, and we really didn't get to any of these events because of COVID. A couple big things in there. One, we had some money in there to fund what was going to be a children's group that was kind of with the kind of co-sponsored, I guess, or co-authored with the library. And really, we had those events planned, and none of those were able to come off, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. And then, in particular, we had the Chappaqua Orchestra's performance at
Together in Music.
Together Music, right. So at the board's, discretion, we have left funding for these things in there. We did reduce the line by about 5,000. I think Jill and I relooked at the Together in Music proposal, and I think there were a couple different options, but this number includes $11,000, I think, for that if the board chooses to fund that event this year.
So Rob, what's this Chappaqua Chamber Orchestra line for 7,000?
So that was a line that we just used to pay. So in the past, they performed the holiday sing-along for us, and that was just the budget line that we had always budgeted for them.
Well, didn't that also include the summer concert, Rob? Or was that just
because they hadn't always done it, but this year it did include the summer concert.
So it was 2 concerts that we had paid, and then
that's the 7th. That's why it went. Well, you
Right.
see, 2018, what we spent 3,000,
Mm-hmm.
and that was
Right.
what it typically was 3,000, and then in 2019 it did include a summer concert, so we upped that line to 7,000 based on the projection from the Chappaqua Orchestra.
Got it.
And the 129.2 is Newcastle Community Media Center. They will actually, Lyle and Carrie will be on tomorrow. They have a brief budget presentation that they're going to show to the town board, just to show the money coming in and going out, and services that they provide to the town. Any questions on the town board portion?
For the top line for salaries is 56,268.
Okay, so what happened there, and that's just an accounting entry that I have to do to reclassify. So when Ivy went from a board member to supervisor, the accounting system didn't recognize her in the supervisor line, so it was charging everything still to the town board line. So at the end of the year, once her salary is reclassified back to the supervisor line, you'll see that line is significantly under budget. So it's just an accounting entry to reclassify those, and they'll be charged correctly going forward.
And lastly, for like the beautification board, where is that?
The next line. Okay. So this is community beautification.
Got it.
Consists of 2 budget lines, essentially 25,000 for that community beautification supplies. That's really the BAB line, and landscape area maintenance is for any other ancillary beautification type stuff. I think community, if you look last year, we overspent the BAB line by a good amount, and the offset was kind of, we didn't spend anything or hardly anything out of the landscape area maintenance. So combined, we were closer to budget.
And this is where the
Yes.
Christmas lights come out of?
Yep.
yes,
Thanks.
And the hanging baskets.
Yeah.
Snowflake.
and the flowers, and
Yeah.
the winter greens,
Yeah.
things like that. So the board did approve the holiday lights this year. Thanks very much. We took advantage of a 5% discount on it, so we saved over $800 by prepaying it before he was by October 15th. So he did a really nice job with the lampposts and the trees throughout town last year. So we're excited to have him back. I think it'll make a huge difference. But we are trying to keep the prices down, and Dennis was a tremendous help this year in helping the BAB get 3 written quotes, and just following the procurement protocol. It was a much easier process. So I'm hoping they're getting used to him and reminding themselves of when they need to use him. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Those lights were beautiful last year, so
Weren't they great? Yeah.
Like when it wrapped around the trees, I really love them.
Yeah. So They do such a beautiful job. It makes such a difference. As opposed to, not that our guys aren't talented, but when you have someone that, really does it the right way, it's fabulous. You want to go supervisor's office next?
Yep. It's up on the screen, the supervisor's budget. Didn't really change much. We changed the dues line to reflect what we're actually paying. Jill, what was the increase? I can't remember.
Association of Towns, Rob.
Okay. We had not been a member of that
right
in the past several years, and we are now. So that represents the increase over the last few years in the dues line.
Right. We should just mention to Christina when it comes to training, that Association of Towns has training all through the course of the year, and it's gratis to members. So she may want to take advantage of some of the things, especially because there is new staff in there. So that might be a good thing.
Thank you. I will want to do that.
Yeah, take a look, for Irene and Lauren, just because it's just a nice thing to be able to do. And also I
Yeah.
saw Keenan Bean is doing something on FOIL, so you may want to take a look at that. I think it was FOIL. Freedom of Information Law or Open Meetings, one of them. Okay. Okay.
Why, no one ever foils anything in this town, so why would they do that?
Right, Christina?
Right. I can't believe she's still smiling. She's
How did we spend so much money on a Memorial Day parade when we didn't have one?
Flags, the new flags.
Oh, okay.
And flags and wreaths.
Got it.
Jumping over the town administrator, really no changes there.
Goodness, look at all those lines.
I will go just one other page though, that's under the town administrator. We did have a little bit of a jump in our liability insurance for 2020, and I would expect a little bit more in 2021, so I have increased that number. This number is representative of I apportioned it out based on it's charged to different sections of the budget, different funds. So I expect to see an increase next year. And the last one, the Comptroller's budget. I think not much change in that. About the only thing is, no, not longevity. What did I increase? I think office supplies just a little bit.
Paper clips.
Yeah. Maintenance repair just a little bit. 482, yeah, it's about a $500 increase. So there wasn't much change. Where I mentioned in prior years, or where I mentioned earlier in the meeting, all of my staff has been around, so none of them will be receiving increases. The audit line, it just reflects just a slight increase over last year. That's contractual. We have a multi-year deal with the audit firm. Central services line, you see telephone and cell phone charges. These are estimated based on the estimates Glenn and I work on. He actually goes through every one of our bills and make sure we're paying the correct rate and we're receiving the proper services.
Rob, why do people in your office work overtime?
That's the majority of that is Diana.
The court. Right. Yeah. She assists with justice court. Collects money.
And she does, there's a lot of work in our office too, that she does some overtime work coming out of my office as well. But she does work the court at night with Diane and Kathy.
Mhm.
The line that I bring up here is I put it under my budget because I kind of administer. This is the grant for the drug-free communities for Newcastle United for Youth. I budget 125 in expenses because that's what the grant is. There's a corresponding revenue line for 125. It exactly equals every year. We get in what we pay out. So that I just budget the max of the grant each year, and each individual line doesn't really matter. Those are different things that we, the members of that group attend conferences, they travel, they have office supplies, we have contractual services, those types of things.
What happens to leftover grant money that hasn't been spent? Just
It rolls to the next year.
So it rolls over to the next year, and I think starting this week, we actually entered year 5 of that grant. So I think this is the last year.
So don't we have some that will roll over to next year as well?
We did. It's not a calendar year; it's a fiscal year. So the year actually runs from September, rather October 1 to September 30. So yeah, everything that was left over will roll into that last year. But for budgetary purposes, it's insignificant because the expenditure will match the revenue every time. So it'll be a net zero to the budget, no matter what it is. We can't keep any of the excess.
Sure.
Which is a shame because, it's a shame because, they couldn't do things this year. So normally they would have been a presence at Community Day. They would have been doing activities and sponsoring programs, and we couldn't do any of it. So I don't know if they're gonna.
They reached out maybe last week about, possibly looking for some additional ways to spend some of the money this year, since so many of the things that they have intended to do, they couldn't do. So, I mean, if anybody, has anything in mind, I think it was Lee Barth who reached out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, I had actually connected her with the CRE because they did have some ideas there that, had kind of a health and wellness focus to them. So
that would be great
there. And, so anyway, if anybody has any ideas in mind, Lee.
Yeah, it really would have been nice if they extended the program another year, because in light of the fact that people really couldn't do things this past year, but the programs, the program is under new administration through the CDC, and it's changed. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
I think that's it for the budget meetings for tonight.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did we finish all the resolutions? Or we still have a couple more?
I think you may still have a couple more.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about tonight? Any of the budget things that you thought about afterwards or before, anything like that?
And so just again, for the new board members, so the process here is you're going to meet with the department heads where they kind of explain their budgets. We've talked about very few changes this year. I think any changes, I don't know that any, in fact, I don't believe that any department head will ask you for any more that's been included. We're trying to keep a flat tax levy in the general and highway fund, and we were able to do that. So if we were going to add anything back in, we would probably be looking for an offset for it. But I don't think anybody's going to ask you for anything else. This is your opportunity to ask questions of the department heads and to make sure that you clearly understand what they're asking for and that the requests are warranted in the budget here. After this, I kind of catalog anything that we discussed that we may change and kind of send it back to you with a summary of how that would affect the budget and what we would either cut or how we would offset it. And the board would then make those decisions. I would redo the budget. That would become the preliminary version of the budget, which if you look all the way to the right-hand stage, the town board stage, why that is empty is because that's your opportunity to change the budget at that point. At this point, it's Jill's budget. After that, it becomes your budget, the preliminary budget. And we set the hearing in November, and we actually hold the hearing in, I believe, the first week in December it will be. The community will have an opportunity to hear the League of Women Voters always asks me to speak in November. I think we're November 17th, Ivy, if I remember correct. So I will present it on that date, and I will present it again in December, and the community will have an opportunity to provide input. So that's just a little kind of overview of what happens over the next 2 months. And the week after the public hearing, if there are no changes by the board, then we create the final adopted budget, and it's approved the following Tuesday.
So just for those of you who are asking, so tomorrow we're meeting with DPW 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to 9:45. It's probably not the best time in the world for BART since they're in the midst of paving. But they're going to be finishing up on Taconic and then moving over to Taylor on Thursday. We'll be meeting with council for just a quick 15 minutes, the police from 10 to 11. Justice Court, both Judge Krause and Judge Sorkin will be in for 15 minutes from 11 to 11:15. And then NCCMC will be in for from 11:15 to 11:45. And then we'll have an opportunity to talk about any changes, any modifications that the board wants to make. Like that. So that'll be from, 8, figure it'll be 8 to noon. Like today, we ran ahead of ourselves a little bit, so I fully expect the same thing to happen tomorrow. Some budget years are a little bit more discussion than others, but it's okay. I think we're up to resolution number 12. Do we want to just finish this up? I think these are Diana's resolutions. They're very long.
I'll finish. I was on this page. All right. I move to adopt the following resolution to modify the budget and funding source for the 2013 Newcastle Arts Center Improvement Capital Project relating to 17 windows and exterior painting. Now, therefore, be resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the Comptroller's office to modify the budget and funding source for the 2013 Arts Center Improvement Capital Project as outlined above and reflected therein.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that was a long resolution. I didn't realize it was just one. Okay. I think that's it.
Just to comment on that again, and we're continuing to go through our capital projects, older capital projects, closing them out. That one, I think so that one we're closing out, and I think we're forwarding some money to do the painting. So as we're closing out some of these small projects, there's small amounts either left over or small amounts that are in deficit, and we're shifting money around so that we can close those and move forward. So you'll see quite a few of those resolutions coming over the next several weeks.
Lauren or Tiffany, can I just ask you the full budget sheet, the one that has the blue from this evening's schedule on top and the green for tomorrow's schedule on the bottom? If somebody has access to this, can they just forward it to the board so they have tomorrow morning's schedule handy? I took a picture of it and sent it, but I don't think it's so great.
I found my copy. It was
You did? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure everybody
we're
is
good.
able to, to know what the schedule is for tomorrow.
I got it.
Okay, good. All right, great. My photography skills are.
So we done here?
I think we are done. We just
Okay.
need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, see everybody tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Good
Thank
morning.
you. Thank
That
you.
was really short.
We started early. Usually we don't start until.
Is that why? I mean,
Yeah.
that just flew by.
Thanks
See?
so much, Rob. Thanks, Jill. Thanks,
Time flies when
everybody.
you're having fun, right? Yeah.